Thank you for staying with us this midday, and we are waiting for the jury to hand down a verdict in the trial of local polo mogul John Goodman. Our Roxanne Stein joins us live outside the Palm Beach County Courthouse with what could be taking place inside the jury room. Roxanne is anchoring our team coverage. Rox.
Well, right now the jurors are eating lunch, but they are deliberating. They are not allowed to go out for lunch. They stay in their jury room, continue to deliberate, and they're eating Jimmy John's subs. But the judge told the attorneys and the families waiting that they could go have a bite to eat, get out of the courthouse, but he wanted the attorneys back at 1:15. So nothing will happen until 1:15. Even if they or should they reach a verdict, they won't do anything because the judge is gone now until 1:15. But the jurors, as I said, just emphasized, they are deliberating while they eat their lunch. They've been at it now for 4.5 hours, and Christina Morrow was on the 11th floor of the courthouse this morning, monitoring all of the events. And during those 4 hours this morning, Christina, there were some developments. Tell us a little bit more.
Good afternoon there, Roxanne. Yeah, all of this, of course, going down right up here on the 11th floor. That's where the jury is deliberating right now. But about 2 hours in this morning, the jurors asked to hear all of the 911 tapes, as well as to see the transcript of Goodman's 911 call. So the calls were replayed in the courtroom one by one as the jurors listened and took notes. We heard from those callers who drove by and stopped because they saw the crash. The man who ended up spotting Scott Wilson's car in that canal, we heard that 911 call as well. And from Goodman himself, who, as you remember, was very disoriented and confused on the phone for that conversation with the 911 person. Now, the jurors were following right along with that transcript as they were listening to Goodman's 911 call. The last thing you may remember that Goodman says on that tape is, "I'm in trouble, huh?" So those were the last words that the jury heard while they were listening inside that courtroom. Then, of course, they went back to the jury deliberation room, which is, Rox, as you mentioned, where they are right now. And we'll find out more, a little more of a maybe possible predictable timeline coming up here at 1:15. Roxanne, back to you.
All right, Christina, thank you. So let's talk a little bit more about that request to hear those 911 tapes replayed for the third time, I might add. Let's bring in legal analyst and local criminal defense attorney Michelle Suskauer. Okay, put on your defense attorney cap right now. When you heard, as we were sitting monitoring all of this, just waiting, and we heard there was a request from the jury to hear the 911 tapes, what went through your mind?
You know, this is tough. On the one hand, as a defense lawyer, I'm thinking, wow, this is a very big piece of evidence that Roy Black brought out during John Goodman's testimony, piece by piece, playing it, the way he sounded, things that he said. I thought, wow, this may be very helpful for the defense. But on the other hand, looking at it from a state point of view, the state also is bringing out the fact that John Goodman knew that he hit something and left the scene. The way he sounded, did he sound intoxicated as opposed to having a concussion? I think this really can go both ways. I think that this was requested really, again, I was sitting in the courtroom when the jurors came in to make this request, and it looked like two of the jurors were copiously taking notes down, were nodding their heads. Maybe those were the ones who actually really wanted to hear this 911 call. So this was crucial. There were things that were said during these 911 calls these jurors needed to hear in order to continue their deliberations.
How long will the judge let the jury deliberate today? If there's nothing between now and 5 o'clock, will he let them go until late this evening?
You know, the judge is not going to stop this jury if they want to continue deliberating. But what's important to note is that the judge is going to continue to kind of take the jury's temperature in a way. He let them know, look, no one is going to be available till 1:15 if you did have a verdict or a question, so we don't know. If they do have a verdict or a question right now, we'll know that at 1:15. But he's going to allow them to deliberate at least until 5 and then ask them, are you close? Do you want to keep going? Do you want to go home? And then he may send them home, or if they request that they're close, to work late until they can get a verdict.
And in this case, it's important to point out, the burden of proof is on the state here.
The burden of proof is 100% on the state. They have to prove every charge and every element of every charge beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. Now, remember, the defense put on a case here, Roxanne. They did not have to. The silence of the defendant could not be used against them. They didn't have to put on any witnesses at all. They didn't have to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, but they did. So did they put on a case to actually raise reasonable doubt? That's going to be the question here.
Now, do jurors deliberate through the weekend?
Probably not. Probably not. They may have a special request to deliberate on a Saturday if they're close, but probably not. If they don't finish today, the judge will call them back from Monday. But again, if this jury goes back home for the weekend, another opportunity to be tainted by trial publicity, and there are no alternative jurors left. They've been excused.
So there, it's this jury or
a mistrial and start again.
All right, Michelle, thank you for your insight. We know you were going to be here all afternoon monitoring all the events with our entire team. Should anything develop, you will hear about it live here first. And of course, when there is a verdict, you will know about that first here on WPTV. So we remain on jury watch outside the Palm Beach County Courthouse in downtown West Palm Beach for the entire team. I'm Roxanne Stein, News Channel 5.